Hey, let's draw a fan out of this moment from Kiara's stream with Neuro-sama.
And yeah, I gotta say I love where I live too. Though I haven't got many neighbors yet because I haven't introduced myself.
You're new to the block, huh? You know, I think normally what you do when you introduce yourself, neighbors, is you bring fruitcake.
Oh, I should definitely bring that. Maybe I can make some fruitcake myself.
Somebody in the chat got my reference, right? I saw someone mentioning Sims. Yes, it was the Sims reference. Let's go! Let's go!
Nicholas area.
Alright, welcome back to another video. We'll be starting a new series on my channel called One Take Speed Paint, where I basically record myself going through the creative process of making digital art pieces that I post on Twitter and my various social media accounts. And essentially what most of this, the majority of this video is just me talking over the footage in real time and trying to provide as much commentary as I can, and hopefully that may provide some insight to those who also want to pursue this type of hobby. Full disclaimer here, a lot of the things that I have learned throughout the years as a digital artist is just me kind of looking at pretty artworks that I find on Twitter and trying to mimic their art style. So by all means, the things that I will say may not be very accurate because I don't have a specific academic background in terms of like making art, and I kind of just do this as a hobby, and I thought this would be kind of cool to share with you folks. So yeah, the first sketch of Neuro-sama I had to kind of scrap away just because I thought it was a little bit too static for my liking, and I wanted her to be a little bit more dynamic. So with the second sketch, you can obviously tell that I wanted her to kind of sway her hips off to the side while looking to her right, or at least having her attention directed towards the plate on her right hand. And I wanted to pay homage to the video game of The Sims by adding that little UI interface that's popping off the cake on the top left corner of the item. That little item description only appears when you hover your mouse over the entity in the game. And I also wanted to draw Kiara, of course, in the corner over here. I was actually debating whether or not I wanted to draw her in her, you know, not in chibi form, but like in her full body form. But I thought it would be kind of like cute if she was in her like chibi form in the corner there. And obviously we're gonna go through the line art phase now, and this is one of the phases that takes the longest. You'll see that the footage is actually sped up a lot more now, and I think I compressed about 200 minutes worth of footage, so that translates to roughly maybe three and a half hours. I can't do math right now, so but doing the line art over here takes the longest, and typically I use the pencil tool to do this. It just makes the coloring process a lot more easier to do. And people have often asked me what kind of brush I use, and the simple answer to that is I don't use different brushes. I actually just use the pencil tool most of the time, even with coloring. I've only used the brush tool in very special cases when there's like a very like for instance, there's a very specific way someone's clothes needed to be shaded, and that's when I bring out the pencil tool. But in most cases, I actually what I end up doing is bumping up the size of my pencil tool in Photoshop and then just trying to shade it smoothly as best as I could. And lately I've been kind of experimenting with cell shading and soft shading, and for the past 3 or 4 years I've been kind of like stuck in this process of like trying to figure out which art style kind of fits me and what like I am most happy with. And lately the what I like most about cell shading is that it's a very simple, straightforward process that literally just requires the paint bucket tool and just figuring out harsh areas needed to be shaded. It's kind of minimalistic in a sense, and somewhat pleasing to the eye. You'll see me bringing in references from my old artworks there. We have Venti and Gura in the top left corner, and that's only really there for me to kind of copy colors and move them over to Neuro-sama. I tend to do that a lot with my recent projects. It's just bringing over my past work and trying to at least copy the color and kind of remember what I've learned from my past artworks, like trying to realize what worked and what didn't. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like a subjective matter. And for this piece in particular, I ended up doing the soft shading technique, and what you'll see me do quite often is use the eyedropper tool and try to blend the colors using my pencil tool. And the skin in particular is very, I would say, in my years of learning how to color, it is a very interesting one to learn how to color, because skin, you have to remember that skin, there's a little bit of blood behind the skin, so it's not a matter of turning the simple matter of turning the saturation down to a darker color of red. You actually need to play around with the hues to make it so that you properly add shading and depth to the skin. And I've learned that very quickly when I did I forgot which artwork it was for, but the character ended up looking very dull and very lifeless, and that's because I just simply turned the saturation down. And you have to play around with like the hues in order to get that vibrancy off the skin. And lately I've been kind of debating between doing either cell shading or soft shading with my works. It's very hard for me to kind of like prioritize and which color technique is most suited for me, or which one's easiest. I'm still in the process of trying to answer that question myself, but lately I've been kind of shifting between cell shading and soft shading, and there's certain benefits to both coloring techniques, of course. And I think we're about to finalize this art piece, so and we're doing some finishing touches here. You can tell in the top right corner of the screen, I just simply have the photos of fruitcake on my screen, which is like, you know, sometimes I just I need to do that so that I need to like a point of reference to see when I'm coloring something. And the process you're seeing right now on screen is just me going through the line art and basically adding color to them. I call this process line art softening stage, where I go into the line art and kind of change color to match the adjacent tone. And what ends up happening is that the artwork looks a lot less harsh. And I thought, I've only done this about recently, like a year ago, but doing this simple process really adds life, and I think makes your art piece a little bit more attractive. So I encourage others to kind of do the same thing. And here we're adding the final touches, and I think over here you'll see me do the background really quickly. I end up finding this simple diamond pattern on Google image search, and then simply bringing that image into the art piece here in Photoshop, and then kind of just playing around with it, transforming it in any way I could that kind of makes sense for the overall composition of the piece. And here we have the final piece. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey, and for listening to me and my little commentary on this art piece. I hope I provided a little bit of insight for those who want to pursue this hobby as well. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you click that like button for more. See you!